Good evening, I'm Carole Wilson. Coming up next on News 5 tonight, the presidential election is just a day away, and candidates are crisscrossing the nation looking for votes. Plus, a group of rowdy teens make a mess out of a Sharonville roller rink. These stories, weather, and sports next on News 5 tonight.
And now, News 5 Weekend Report. With Carole Wilson, weather with George Zabrecky, and Tom Varrato has sports. This is News 5 tonight.
Good evening. Those long months and days of campaigning are turning into hours tonight, leaving both presidential candidates with just one final day to woo votes. President Reagan made an about-face today, changing his campaign schedule to visit Walter Mondale's home state. Mr. Reagan says he couldn't pass up the opportunity to stop in Minnesota. But Mondale campaigners saw it as one final insult. Later, at an impromptu press conference, the president was once again questioned about his joke about bombing Russia.
I shouldn't have said it, but I will further emphasize the media also shares in a responsibility for our national security, and I don't think they should have spread it.
Reagan aides say Minnesota is the only state within Mondale's reach. Meanwhile, Walter Mondale has set his sights on Tennessee and Texas voters, hoping to spur support from blacks and Hispanics. At a church here in Memphis, Mondale took the pulpit for a message about compassion. He says the Reagan administration doesn't have any.
This crowd can hear the faintest drum, but they can't hear the cry of a hungry child in the street.
Mondale had previously attacked Mr. Reagan for injecting religion into this presidential race. Later, Mondale's campaign staff posed for a photo on his jet, indicating the race is almost over. If the latest polls prove true, Walter Mondale has fallen far behind President Reagan in the eyes of Ohio voters. The University of Cincinnati's latest poll shows President Reagan with a 19-point lead over Mondale, the president with 55% and Mondale with 36%. The poll seems to indicate the president is slightly more popular with men than with women voters. That poll, by the way, is accurate to plus or minus 4%. Local campaigning is also heating up tonight, literally. A rally and bonfire was held here at the Clearview Lake Lodge for Republican congressional candidate Norm Murdoch. Nearly 300 supporters showed up through the course of the night. Murdoch, meanwhile, is pursuing court action against challenger Tom Luken. Murdoch says Luken's campaign ads telling voters that Murdoch wants to reduce Social Security benefits are false. Last week, Murdoch asked that the ads be taken off the air. Luken says he has proof of his claims and will keep running the ads through Election Day. Tomorrow on News 5 midday, the 1st District candidates Norman Murdoch and Tom Luken will debate the issues. And on Tuesday, Election Day, tune in to Channel 5 for News 5 coverage of the election. We'll be breaking into NBC's coverage of the election results with the latest live reports on the local races, all from News 5 on Election Day. Voters turned out in droves to have their say in Nicaragua's first election in 10 years. An estimated 1.5 million voters cast ballots throughout the day, long lines forming in some areas. Many people turned out wearing T-shirts, hats, and other items with the red and black insignia, National Liberation Front. The party's presidential candidate, Daniel Ortega, claims the U.S. is trying to manipulate the contest. He also believes the U.S. will invade Nicaragua if Mr. Reagan is reelected here. Candidates from 5 smaller parties are running against Ortega. Election results are expected sometime tomorrow. Closer to home, an auto accident near Wilmington has left 3 local people dead tonight. Ohio State Police tell us 2 cars hit head-on at Polk Road on State Route 72. Dead are 34-year-old John Stewart and his wife Deborah, both from Sabina. The driver of the other car was also killed. 19-year-old Joseph Johnson was from Washington Courthouse. Police are still investigating that accident. 8 area police departments were called to a Sharonville roller rink late last night, and when they arrived, found several hundred teenagers rioting. As News 5's Judy Alsobrooks reports, 4 teens were arrested during the melee.
It was business as usual this afternoon here at the USA roller skating rink. Just hours before, it was the scene of angry teenagers rioting because management decided to close the rink early. Police say there had been several fights earlier, and officers were called to assist as they closed.
On the 3rd shift, the management decided they'd had about 5 more fights and that they should close the place down. So we had a few of our officers respond as they closed it down. The crowd came out, got very disorderly, and assistance had to be called from other departments to keep the trouble down.
Police say the teenagers had to be forced out of the building, and then once out, they began throwing rocks, damaging at least 2 patrol cars. The rocks barely missed the windshield of this patrol car. Management would not talk to us on camera, but police say this is not the first time the rink has had problems.
Periodically, we'll have some trouble, fights, disorderly, drug-related, different type cases like that.
There were no injuries in last night's incident, but when it was over, 4 teenagers had been arrested and charged with rioting, trespassing, and resisting arrest. Judy Alsobrooks, News 5 Tonight.
The FBI tonight has captured one of the nation's most wanted persons right here in Ohio. The arrests were made near Cleveland. At the same time, agents arrested several other people who were helping him. We have more now in this late report from NBC.
FBI agents and Cleveland police staged a raid at a home on West 22nd Street. The raid came shortly after they arrested one of their 10 most wanted fugitives. Raymond Levasseur, a member of a revolutionary group wanted for terrorism and bank robbery, was arrested with his wife in Deerfield, Ohio. On West 22nd Street, the agents arrested 3 of Levasseur's alleged partners in crime. Richard Williams, wanted for the murder of a New Jersey state trooper 3 years ago. John Lehman, wanted for the attempted murder of a Massachusetts state trooper. And Lehman's wife, Barbara Kersey. FBI agents at the scene said they had learned that another of their top 10 fugitives was going to the Lehman's house. They searched the house completely, even calling in a dog warden to remove a Doberman so they could search the basement. But they didn't find the other most wanted man. Thomas William Manning, also wanted for killing a New Jersey state trooper and bank robbery. The FBI said Manning was probably in the area and may still be. They're continuing the search for him. Neighbors told us that Lehman, his wife, and their 3 children rented the house on West 22nd Street about 2 months ago. But none of the neighbors had any idea that the new people in the neighborhood were wanted for being involved with 2 of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. Joe Mossbrook for NBC News.
Next on News 5 Tonight, we'll take a look back at what happened at our embassy in Iran 5 years ago. Plus, a local salute to the Navy. That story next. The group